Now, according to the report, quote, months of investigation by the New York Times turned up no evidence that al-Qaeda or other international terrorist groups had any role in the assault. They go on to say the attack does not appear to have been meticulously planned, but neither was it spontaneous or without warning signs. And regarding the role of an anti-Islam video, they say, quote, there is no doubt that anger over the video motivated many attackers. So in case there is any confusion, according to the Times, the attack was not a long-planned al-Qaeda plot that the Obama administration covered up in order to protect its record on security. Sorry, Fox News.
Sorry, Fox News. Oh, boy. That is incredible. That's MSNBC. The left-wing media is having a field day because their Bible, the New York Times, has decreed that everything we know about Benghazi is not true. And everything Hillary and Barack Obama have told us is. Let's joining us now is Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North, host of War Stories on the aforementioned Fox News channel. Hello, Colonel.
Hey, Steve. Happy New Year, first of all, to you. And I just love that comment because it's very clear to me that both the New York Times and MSNBC believe in fairy tales, Peter Pan, and the Easter Bunny. Because this column that she was just talking about is just that. It's a fairy tale. Look at before the attack. I realize it's very difficult in this day. It's deluge of information we all get. 2 days before the attack on the Benghazi mission, let's not really call it a consulate because it wasn't. Let's call it the Benghazi diplomatic mission of the United States of America. 2 days before, you have a video released not by some nutcase in California, but by Zawahiri, encouraging people to remember 9/11, okay? Zawahiri, who is the successor to none other than Osama bin Laden. The day before, you end up with a riot that occurs, quote, spontaneously in Tunisia that burns out an American school. You have all kinds of indicators from the people who were manning the annex that's described so eloquently in the New York Times piece, saying something bad is going to happen over here, and guess what? We've done nothing to prepare for it. Okay, so what you have now in the New York Times is an attempt to justify, for Hillary Clinton, lack of preparation, lack of any resonance with 9/11 being a terror anniversary for the rest of your life and mine, and number three, the fact that they then tried to cover it up. This is another step in the cover-up of what Hillary Clinton and the State Department and the Obama administration failed to do to prevent a horrible outcome in Benghazi.
And to think that the New York Times could find out. First of all, let's jump to the video, because I love that the video is back now. The video, yeah, which was dead and buried and acknowledged by almost universally as a ridiculous excuse. They blamed it on the fog of war. Now right, it's back. Who on earth could the New York Times? Americans can't get there. The FBI can't get there to talk to anybody. We have nobody in custody who participated in this, but the New York Times investigated, and they know that the video was to blame.
Right. And, of course, if you wanted to spin the narrative to defend the Obama administration, and, again, I want to take this a step even further forward from the remaining 2.5 years of this administration, 3 years of this administration, what you have is an attempt to set things up for Hillary Clinton once again. Hillary Clinton, you mark my words, in the midst of the primary for the 2016 presidential election, Hillary Clinton will take out this New York Times piece and say, see, we told you so. Listen, I don't have the gift of prophecy, brother, but I can tell you that's what this is. This is a step in the direction of supporting Hillary for president, and in some way trying to find some kind of legacy for Barack Obama. Let me just add to that, Steve.
Yeah.
Because what you have is a disastrous foreign policy, and I obviously don't have prescience over everything that took place over the last 12 years, but I've sure seen an awful lot of it. I'll give you a prediction for 2014, right around the corner. The disastrous foreign policy of the Obama administration is going to bite America badly in 2014. The disastrous foreign policy of not just what's going on in Egypt today, it's all over the Middle East. It is the Iranian nuclear program. It is the abandonment of Israel, our only real ally, and the decision that's coming down shortly to pull everything except perhaps a nucleus of American troops out of Afghanistan. And that's where we're headed. And God help us if that happens, because you and I are going to have a very miserable year of 2014 running around the world trying to put out brush fires.
Well, I want to get to certainly what's going to happen when we leave Afghanistan. We're talking to Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North, the host of War Stories on the Fox News Channel. So good to talk to you again. How's the book doing? Last time we spoke, that you had launched the book.
American Heroes, and you helped me launch it, brother, and it did very, very well. Number 4 on the Washington Post bestseller list. It's been a great hit for those who know veterans, getting signed copies by going to olivernorth.com. It is a great testament to the courage and love and affection the American people have for the young Americans who volunteered to serve our country in this long, long war that, God forbid, gets longer because of the incompetence of this administration.
I do want to focus on one thing you said, and I couldn't agree with you more. This is, in my opinion, an orchestrated attempt to, to build up Hillary, to get this off the table, to prevent the media from bringing it up. Not that they would, but if it comes up, they could say, "Oh no, that's been settled. It was been proven. It wasn't Al Qaeda. It wasn't this. It was the video." And if any Republican or conservative outlet or Republican candidate brings it up, they'll say, "Well, the New York Times investigation showed." So I think that this is nothing but politics.
Oh, that's exactly what it is. It's designed for domestic U.S. consumption. The people, whoever they are that they talk to from the New York Times in their, quote, months of investigating out there, simply echoed back what was best for this administration and best for Hillary's future.
All right, now let's talk about Afghanistan. You've been there so many times, and you have such great stories that you've told about so many of our wonderful warriors. And where are we? I mean, the last I heard, we were in negotiations. Karzai was bad-mouthing us, whether it was, for his street cred or whether he meant it, wanting us to sign an agreement and an apology in that agreement, restricting night raids, restricting this, restricting that. See, my son wants to be a Navy SEAL. He's 14 years old. And I couldn't be prouder. I don't know if it'll happen, but I couldn't be prouder that he's entertained this for so many years now. But I tell him all the time, I say, I will forbid you if they're going to tie your hands. I hate to see what happens to our men and women over there. And now when I read about these agreements, and it's been going on, you can't have the lookout towers because it offends the villagers, so our people are in greater risk. All those kinds of things. I just don't know how we could have our people there and not give them every single thing they need. So where are we headed with Afghanistan?
Well, initially the administration said if we don't have a deal by the end of the year, then we're just going to pull out. I think calmer heads have prevailed. I think Joe Dunford, who is the commander of the International Security Assistance Force over there, has convinced at least the folks at the Pentagon, if not inside the White House, slow roll on this thing. Karzai will be gone in April. Now, if all things work together for good, and sometimes they do, as planned, I will be back out there for those elections, and I can almost assure you that that's going to be a bellwether for where we go with Afghanistan. If the elections are pulled off in a reasonable manner, and we all know this is not a Jeffersonian democracy, but if they're reasonable, and you end up with Dostum, for example, as perhaps the new president, there will be the bilateral security agreement, BSA, is what everybody keeps talking about. It's not Boy Scouts of America. It's a bilateral security agreement between the United States and Afghanistan that's separate from what the United Nations has done, okay, that says Americans under our rule and under this agreement are going to be protected from certain activities by the government of Afghanistan and be able to carry out certain activities to defend themselves and to carry out our mission. And the mission is fairly well defined in that BSA. The issue is not the mission. The issue is how they go about it. And here's what we need. The United States of America needs a friend in that part of the world, a government that is friendly to us, hopefully that represents the interests of its own people, can protect itself from its neighbors to the east, meaning Pakistan, and its neighbor to the west, meaning Iran, and that we can help them weather the storm of the Taliban and, quite frankly, invaders from both sides. If we can do that, then we've got a place where we could recover aircraft and, God forbid, the necessity of bombing Iran. We've got to have some of those runways out there. We've lost the ones in Iraq because of the incompetence of this administration and the short-sightedness of it. We now know Iraq is essentially a satrap of Tehran. If that happens with Kabul, we're screwed. And we're in really deep trouble because it then becomes a one-way trip. and nobody wants that.
Yeah, no.
You've got to have some bases where you can recover damaged aircraft, refuel, rearm, and conduct the kinds of what we call ISR, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance that's got to be done in order to prosecute a campaign against people who hate us. And I'm not talking about the people of Afghanistan. I'm talking about some of those elements, the radical Islamists on either side of that country, some of whom are inside Afghanistan.
I got to tell you, it makes so much sense what you're saying that I fear it's beyond the comprehension of this administration. Believe it or not. Now, let me ask you one final question, Colonel North, and that is the bombing inside Russia today, and of course that follows one on Sunday, which followed one about a couple of weeks ago, and the reports that the Chechen leader of the guerrillas or the terrorists, more appropriately termed, has urged Muslims to prevent the Olympics from happening, urged them to kill civilians. How concerned should the Olympic goers and the people who are putting it on be about this these events?
Look, Steve, if you could get a direct flight from wherever you are and I am directly into Sochi, that would be fine. Unfortunately, it's not exactly a major metropolitan hub, and so you're going to have to fly through some other airports. They've set up a fairly sophisticated security zone around the Olympics. What they can't do, as we just saw in Stalingrad, or Novograd, used to be Stalingrad, we saw those two bombings two in a row. I would not be at all surprised. Outside the security zone, you see one a day going off. And, of course, it will be radical Islamists who are doing this. Words that we're not allowed to say in political correctness in America today. The Russians know who the problem is. Here's a wonderful opportunity for us to use our intelligence service, meaning the NSA, the much despised and maligned NSA, to help the Russians deal with this problem, because radical Islam is, after all, our enemy and their enemy, and the enemy of our enemy is our friend.
Yep. Colonel, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful 214 or 2014. I guess the 214 is not right. And I hope you had a Merry Christmas, and look forward to talking to you next year, sir.
I look forward to it myself. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Take care.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and have a great holiday.
Thanks. You. That's Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North, host of War Stories, of course, on the Fox News channel. Always great to hear from him and get his input. All right, next hour, Congressman Peter King, who happens to be a chair of the Homeland Security Subcommittee on Counterintelligence and Terrorism, will weigh in on all that's going on. Fred Fleitz of Lignet, former CIA analyst and founder, and Wayne Besson. And so we got a full hour next hour. When we come back, I'm going to let you hear some sound that you are going to want to hear. I love that part of the Steve Malzberg Show, even though it's named after me. I don't talk about myself in the third person. I only say it because that's the name of the show. Okay, we're coming back. Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.